Well, hey there, everybody. It's Kris from Rate the Record podcast, and we're trying something a little new this time around. So basically, we're doing a little bit of a singles review this time. Savannah and I individually are taking a look at some random singles that have been dropping over the last week or two, and we're gonna still do like a reviewish kind of thing. Something new for the channel, so why not check it out, huh? So the first single I checked out this week is by a band called The Smile, and the song is called You'll Never Work in Television Again. This band is the brainchild of Tom York and Johnny Greenwood of Radiohead, and they're joined by Tom Skinner of the band Sons of Kemet. So their debut single, which I just recently named, You Will Never Work in Television Again, just dropped back on January the 5th, and it's a very punky, artsy type of Radiohead sound, like a throwback type sound. And it's kind of hard for it to not feel that way considering 2/3 of the band is Radiohead. So York kind of steps out of his quieter, sleepy style vocals that we've kind of gotten used to over the last few years, kind of jumping back into this more aggressive, little, like, confrontational style of vocal, I guess. Like, it reminds me a lot of the work from, like, even back as far as Pablo Honey or something like around those tracks, those eras, I guess. Even feeling kind of punky, the guitars don't stand out too much. They're not too heavy or anything like that, but they do kind of like push everything nicely through the verses, which is really cool. The middle part is probably my favorite, just because maybe it's the chorus, maybe not. It's hard to know the structure with this song, but the soundscape really opens up into this artsy, psychedelic kind of feeling. Just there's a lot of sound going on at once, and I think it sounds really great. So the track's just under 3 minutes, it's catchy, it's fun, and I would honestly probably think I'd want to check out more of this project if anything else does come out, be it like another single, an EP, or an LP. I'm down to check it out. It's pretty good. So for the next single, I have the band Spector. Spector just dropped a brand new album on January 7th called Now or Whenever, but this album was actually supposed to be released back in October, but it got pushed to January, and so because the album just came out now, I decided I would take a look at one of the singles and just see how I felt about it. The song I checked out was actually a single that dropped back in June 2021, and it's called Catch You on the Way Back. The song kind of rides on one guitar note for like a really long time through most of it, kind of in the same vein as like Maps by the Yeah Yeah Yeahs. The verses are structured in a very interesting way because it always kind of feels like it's being built up to like this really big drop. Kind of has like that modern indie pop kind of feel, you know, where drops in music always just tend to happen now. Through the build-up, you hear this like fast dotted synth bass kind of just pulsing through with this like dulled kick drum that kind of goes along with it too. Again, that indie pop kind of charm going on there. It keeps building and building and actually does drop to what I can only consider indie stadium pop. The sound of the chorus is like really expansive. I'm talking like room filling, so I can only imagine how exciting it would be to hear live. The second verse is even cooler because it kind of feels like it adds more yet taking away more. The bass kind of just sustaining these smooth notes now rather than feeling too choppy, so that's pretty interesting. And on top of that dulled kick, now you have this like really punchy snare that comes in, again with the build up and then just the huge indie stadium pop drop. It's a really clean track, well polished, just a lot of fun in general. I would say it's well worth a listen at least once. I personally never heard of Spector before, so I might very well go back and check out some other older stuff. And finally, we have the band The Bread Scientists, which funny enough is actually a solo artist, and according to his Bandcamp page, quote, just one guy doing some cool stuff. I admire that. The Bread Scientists dropped their new album, their new album. I'm not certain which pronoun to use for this band. The album dropped on New Year's Day and it's called Synestia, but this single that I'm looking at today actually dropped back in December and it's called Cygnus. This one is a really noisy post-rock kind of track, post-rock, you know, being very closely connected to punk. Very messy sounding, super mechanical, kind of like maybe even these like MIDI-driven guitars. It sounds like MIDI, I'm not certain if it actually is. It's got a super clean bass tone that kind of rides through it though, so it kind of like counteracts the noise a little bit. And it has this like basic run-of-the-mill fanfare kind of post-rock drum beat. If you listen to this one, you'll notice a very thick layer of distortion laid over pretty much everything. Not necessarily a bad thing. It actually kind of does a little bit to add more energy to an already quick tempo for the song, so I think that's, it complements nicely enough. To me, though, I think I found this one to get a little too repetitive by the middle. There wasn't much else happening by the middle, so it was hard to keep my attention sometimes, especially too because you can hear there's like, you know, actual melody and stuff going on behind the distortion, but it gets really buried, so it's really hard to take anything away from it. But overall, I'll say this is a really ambitious idea to play with, and it's always cool to see artists taking chances like this, especially when it comes to like noisy type stuff. I'm not super into this track, unfortunately, but I do appreciate the work that was put into it, so good on you. Keep it up, at the very least. So those are the singles that I checked out this week, completely at random. There's, no rhyme or reason to why I chose them. Just looked some stuff up, found them, and here they are. Now, I know Savannah's going to have her own, so make sure you check those out as well. Let us know what you thought of these tracks down below, just because, it'd be interesting to know what we can all think of this new music together. So remember, join us Mondays for the podcast, and Tuesdays right here, we're going to go ahead and keep just talking about these singles and these short form videos. Hope it's a lot of fun. Hope you discover something that you really like, and we will see you again next week. So take care, friends.